Anybody who knows me knows that I'm a huge fan of the University of Notre Dame. I'm an alum of the university, so it comes quite naturally to me. And recently, Notre Dame has received some bad publicity due to the actions of linebacker Manti Te'o, who appears to have been involved in something known as a catfishing scheme. Now, I don't want to get into the specific details of Te'o's case, partially because I don't know what is and is not true, and also the media has covered it ad nauseum. But I do want to talk about the issue of catfishing in general, because I think it poses a spiritual problem to our society. Catfishing, for those of you who are unaware, is the taking on of a fake persona online and entering into a relationship with somebody else, usually of a romantic nature. And I think that people who get into catfishing a lot of times do so because they're seeking out a relationship that they're having trouble establishing in their day-to-day life, so usually a romantic relationship. And so what they do is they create a fake person, a fake persona online, and allow somebody to enter into a relationship with that fake persona and fall in love with them. And I think that starts to soothe some of their self-esteem issues and some of their neediness to be loved. But here's the problem with that, is ultimately I think it's going to leave a bigger hole than it does provide any kind of satisfaction. And here's why. Because see, what's happening in catfishing is the person who's initiating the scheme, the person who's behind the fake persona, so to speak, is not truly being loved. This fake persona that they created might be truly being loved, or the person entering into a relationship at least thinks they're entering into an authentic relationship with that person, but the person behind the keyboard is not being loved. They're not going to be fulfilled because what they're doing ultimately is only allowing this fake person to be loved. And what happens then ultimately is that person's going to realize it. The person behind the keyboard, they're going to realize they still are needy. Their needs are not being met. They're not truly being loved. And this fake person is getting all this attention and everything like that. And this happens not just online, it happens all the time in our human history and in our daily lives. So often we put off these fake personas, we put out these fake personas and allow people to think that we're somebody other than who we truly are. And I think that the reason that we do this is that we want to be perceived as being more perfect than we usually are, more likable and more lovable. Here's the issue though, is we are lovable not because of what we do or because of what we have or because of anything like that. We're lovable because we're made in the image and likeness of God. And that needs to be our starting point, because see, what happens if that's not our starting point is we allow other people to begin to manipulate us. You see, if I don't realize that God loves me because I'm made in His image and likeness, and instead I think that I have to do something to earn His love, or somebody else's love for that matter, what I'm going to do is I'm going to allow people to manipulate me. I'm going to allow people to tell me, well, you're lovable to the extent that you're smart, or you're lovable to the extent that you're good looking, or that you wear the right clothes, or that you are part of the right associations, you hang out with the right people. And then all of a sudden I'm being manipulated and I'm not being loved. Authentic love is the giving of oneself completely and entirely to another person selfishly. So if I'm trying to seek love from somebody else by accomplishing something, I'm not truly giving of myself, nor am I allowing somebody else to give of me. Instead, I'm trying to do something to appease somebody else. And ultimately, I'm going to fall short of that goal of being loved and experiencing what it means to be loved. I mean, think about kids and parents. Parents don't love their children because of something that they did or something they accomplished. They love their children because of who they are. And the same thing is true of God for us to an infinite degree. God loves us because of who we are, not because of what we've accomplished. That's not to say that God condones everything that we do or something like that, but it's to say that He does in fact love us, and He loves us not because of what we've accomplished, but because of who we are. If we want to be truly loved, we have to be willing then to be our authentic self. And that means that we have to be people who can admit both our good qualities and our bad qualities, our faults, our warts, if you will. And we have to allow somebody to say, I can see these things in you, I can see your good qualities and your bad qualities, and I still want to be in a relationship with you. See, that's what it means to give completely of oneself. Christ on the cross gave completely of himself, including giving his very life for us human beings. And we're called to do likewise. By entering into an authentic relationship, what we're doing is we're giving completely of ourselves, meaning that part of us which is very good and which is appealing to people, but also saying, hey, I'm a sinner, and I can admit that, and these are my faults too, and they come along with who I am. I'm not perfect. So often in our society, I think that we try to pretend to be more perfect than we are. It's a stupid little game that I think all of us tend to play, where we tend to either tell lies about ourselves or try to put ourselves out there and give this kind of image of ourselves that doesn't fully or accurately describe who we are. It always just emphasizes our good qualities and pretends our bad qualities don't even exist. And I think we all play this silly little game. But here's why I call it a silly little game. Because everybody knows that nobody else is perfect. Everybody knows that everybody else has some bad qualities to them. And yet we pretend as if we can fool somebody by pretending I'm really this perfect person and I'm not going to talk about my bad qualities because they don't exist, and this person's going to think I'm perfect. But we all know that we don't believe anybody else is perfect. We don't believe ourselves to be perfect. And we also know that other people don't believe that we're perfect. And yet we continue to play this game where we're all lying to each other. We know we're lying to each other, and yet that's what we tend to do. See, I think the better response is that Christian response of fully giving of ourselves authentically, saying, this is who I am. I am this person. I've got good qualities. I've got deficiencies. I make mistakes, and I do things right at times too. And I'm a person who is worthy of love, not because of anything I've done or accomplished, but because I'm made in the image and likeness of God. And I also want to be a person who is able to be loving to other people, not because of what they've done for me or what they can do for me or what they've accomplished or they've got money, wealth, or anything like that, but because they are also made in the image and likeness of God. See, I think that's what we need to be striving for, is that authentic relationship. That's what the gospel calls us to. It calls us to our most authentic self so that we can truly experience what it means to be loved. Catfishing, on the other hand, does the exact opposite. It mars true love. It says, really only a perfect person can be loved, so I'm going to pretend to be this perfect person, and in doing so, I'm going to hope that someone will love me. And of course, the danger is they'll never love you when you're catfishing, because they're always going to know a fake person and not the real you.